Well, I'm supposed to be going out today, or I was going to go out to do some filming and some bits and bobs. Instead, I've ended up here dog sitting. I say dog sitting, all the dog's doing is sleeping. Unfortunately, she can't be left alone because if you leave her alone for any length of time, she just barks and barks and barks and carries on making a complete and utter noise. Gives me a bit of an opportunity to sit and watch YouTube, so I'm watching Car Crashes Time on YouTube. One of the things I watch it for mainly is I just love, most of it's in Russia, and I just love the scenery. I mean, the car crashes are nothing, they're just little bangs and pops, nothing of any serious nature, but I just love looking at Russian scenery and just all these amazing buildings and incredible roads with things flying over them or pipe. This is a new Car Crashes Time channel. The old one I watched, they've changed about a year ago and I didn't notice. I've only recently found this one. They used to do it I think once a week. Now this will go down to 1 or 2 episodes a month. So, stuck with a dog on my lap. Wake up, dog. One of the things you tend to forget whilst suddenly using your camera to film yourself while sitting with a dog or with the dog sleeping on you is to check the lens to see if the lens on the front of your phone is clear. So I'm sorry it was a little bit foggy on the one earlier. I hadn't noticed. It's not the sort of first thing you look at. You look at the rear cameras on your phone thinking, oh, are they clear? But then if you're filming yourself, I didn't think so. Sorry about the fact it's a bit foggy. Dog did get off eventually, obviously, so I managed to get out, do some aerial shots that I wanted to get, some of these more unused places which I've been trying to get recently, and some other pictures I've been trying to get hold of. When I was sitting with a dog, I was quite lucky that it was grey and not so nice. Now I come out, it's sort of 7:30, it's an evening, and it's a nice clear evening with lovely blue skies. So, hi guys, I am going to talk a little bit today about depression and anxiety, and there'll be a good reason for that and you'll see why. Some of it's down to the fact that in the next couple of videos I'm very close to coming up to 100 vlogs. Now of recent I haven't had much of a idea or much sort of dynamic buzz or whatever it is to do my vlogs. So I'm sometimes a little bit, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know what I feel up. And that's when you end up watching me sitting here, chatting away, probably boring you stupid. Which I don't really want to do, I don't intend to do, but sometimes I do waffle on because I can't think of much else to come up with. Saying can't do much, some of that if it is a mojo thing. For the last few weeks I felt a bit off, a bit strange. And some of that's down to my skin condition. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the past, I've probably mentioned it, I can't remember if I have, I've got a skin condition called psoriasis. Psoriasis is very like an eczema. You tend to only get it on your elbows and your knees. Now, there's occasions when it can spread, but it's very, very rare. Now, I went to my doctor's last week because mine has spread recently. My psoriasis has just gone absolutely mental and it's just gone suddenly mad. I was a bit worried about it, so I went to see the doctor. Now, I would say I was worried because the last time it did it was 21 years ago when my dad died. Now, when my dad died, obviously, it was a big shock to me, and therefore my skin just went roof, because I've had psoriasis since I was a teenager. So when my dad died, it just spread everywhere. It was terrible. I went to the doctor back then. They put me on a waiting list to go and see a specialist. The stupid thing there was that the waiting list was, I got a letter saying I was waiting 3 months to get on the waiting list, and then when I got onto the waiting list that was another 9 months before I got to see the specialist. So by the time I actually got to see somebody, it had cleared up. He actually sat there he had a junior doctor with him and said, oh, is there any chance you could explain to the junior doctor what it was like when you had it, because it's gone and you can't see it now. I was very annoyed at the time, so I said, no, up yours. If you can't be bothered to see me earlier, then you can't be bothered to see what it looks like. So no, I'm not going to sit and explain how it looks to you. You should have seen me earlier. Recently, it's suddenly flared up again, and I don't know why. Because I said there's normally a reason for it. I can't think of a reason. The doctor asked me recently, is there a reason? I said, I can't think of one, no. It's not anything that springs to mind, and that's why it's a bit worrying. So the doctor's just given me cream to put on it, so I think that's not really useful. I want something else. I want a bit more than that. I need a reason or an explanation as to what's happening. Last year I stopped my anti-anxiety pill. So I had diazepam, which is an anxiety suppressant. Now I was on that from June 2017 to July 2018, which is all the time whilst I was still having my private counselling sessions. I finished the counselling session sometime in September, so I had a few months without the pills. And one of the reasons they didn't really give me a reason, they just stopped the pills and said, look, we can't give you the pills anymore. I don't know if it was cost-based or just you think maybe you're having too many to not do anything. I never really noticed much if the pills were doing anything or not, to be fair, because when I stopped them, I didn't feel any different. It wasn't like with your antidepressants, you stop them, you sort of notice after a few days and you have to go back on, and that's why they don't stop you, they sort of wean you off those. So when they stopped them, I sort of come up with a plan that I would keep a few behind for like emergencies. If they're to suppress anxiety and feelings of anxiety, maybe I'd, rather than go down the end of the packet and just get rid of the packet, I'd leave 5 or 6 in a packet just in case I needed them to maybe calm me down occasionally. Now, I said I finished them in July. I needed them, or I took one of them in August. In August last year, I went out on a hunt and sort of a mission to deliver something, a little present and a letter. And it was just a case of dropping it off and going. It wasn't anything dramatic. It was just a case, this is it, drop that off, go. But I was still absolutely terrified. I mean, it frightened the life out of me. I was very scared and very sort of nervous about doing it in the first place. So I thought, I'll take one of the pills in the morning. I don't think it had much of an effect, because when I sort of got round to get closer to certain things, certain areas, it suddenly got worse, and I felt much worse anyway. One of my things I've always, I don't know if it's an issue or not, it's just one of the things that I've always walked away from places thinking to myself, why didn't I say that? Why didn't I do that? If I'd said this, if I'd said that. And I've always been like that. And my counsellor at the time, when I was having counselling, she said to me, no, you shouldn't always think like that. Don't think of what you could have done and what could have happened. Think of what did and the responses that got. If people responded to it or they didn't respond to it, then it's now them more than what you should be worrying about. You shouldn't be worrying about, you can't control what other people are thinking, can't control what other people want to respond to and what they don't want to respond to, and what, how they feel. So, and a lot of people, friends say that as well. So, but I still do it. I mean, I'm even now, and I had to stop the counselling back in September. I still now, if I say something, I feel, oh, why didn't I say that? The thing is, when I go to do things, my mind is full of ideas and plans. The problem is definitely, with my relationship side of it, was that I didn't explain everything that was in here. So I had loads of ideas and brilliant, all these things I'd love to say and wanted to say and was going to say. And for some reason, they never got out. I never got to say them, or I'd misconstrued thinking was doing, and I'd thought I'd already said it when I hadn't. And I'm terrible for doing stuff like that, or was terrible for doing stuff like that. I've learnt an awful lot now since I've finished counselling, since I've had the counselling, and a lot more. I've learned to be a lot more open with it and not be so sort of suppressed and think, oh yeah, but I better not say it just in case. Now you say, no, say exactly what's on your mind and what you feel, and the better for it. If you've only done that in the past, then, so on. I'm going to go back to the doctors and see if I can get the diazepam again. I asked him, I'll see if I can get, I'm saying to him I really need it, because things like psoriasis are fed by sort of stress anyway. So I think some sort of stress has probably caused it in the first place. And so it's probably been for about 2 or 3 weeks now. The worst thing is with anxiety, because you've got it, you think to yourself, well, actually, I don't know why I've got it. When I had it last time, I knew, because my dad died. That's what made me had it. I knew I had an outbreak. I didn't feel at that time I had depression. I wasn't diagnosed with it or anything like that. I probably did because of my past and things that happened before then, but I didn't realise it. So then I knew why it was doing it. Now I don't know why it's doing it, so now I stress even more. So you stress, you think, oh, why is that doing? Why is this doing that? Am I dying? Am I okay? Am I going to die? Am I going to live? What's up? What's why? And that makes you stress even more, which makes it even worse. Which is why I want the doctor to give me some more diazepam, give me something to relieve my stress levels, to hopefully then bring this under control, and then I can work out and say to myself, okay, is there a reason for it? What's causing it? Why have all of a sudden has it gone like this? It makes you think sometimes. I mean, if I was to die all of a sudden, then the YouTube channel would still be going. Now, you wouldn't see new videos, obviously, and that would probably be an indication. So, well, there's no more new videos, something might have happened. But with certain things, like with Facebook, you could actually set somebody to continue your Facebook on for you. Now, I did mine a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, I set a colleague, a friend of mine that I've known for a while, as my Facebook sort of champion, I don't know what they call them, somebody you nominate to run your Facebook once you die. Which means that it keeps the page open. They can't post anything and do like that, and I don't quite know how it works, because obviously they find out you're dead, and then they somehow have a lock or key or something that gets them into your Facebook just to keep it running. Now the thing is, I don't see much point in it in some respects, because if you was to die, your Facebook page would be stay open anyway. I suppose unless it becomes inactive, maybe there's an inactive filter or something that keeps it around. There's a girl that used to live around the corner for me when I was a kid. We used to play as kids, or my family used to play together. And she died about 5 years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. She was about 5-6 years younger than me, so she's a bit younger than me. She had a family. She unfortunately died suddenly after some hospital treatment, and her Facebook page is still open. And her Facebook page is still open simply because on her birthday, people wish her a happy birthday. It's quite a nice thing, like a memorial to do. I quite like the idea that I wish her a happy birthday every year. So does my family and the other people that know her. So there's a guy that also has an open page that I knew that I used to work with that unfortunately killed himself a couple of months ago. And he took his own life. His Facebook page wasn't updated much beforehand anyway, but his Facebook page is still there and still open. I don't think anyone would post birthday wishes or anything nice for me when I'm dead, because I just don't. I just think it'd be a waste of time really. But it would be, maybe there's things on there I'd want to keep open, some messages, maybe some poems and things that thoughts that I think maybe other people can benefit from. I don't know. A friend of mine that I used to go to school with, don't see him much, but he plays in a band. A couple of times I've seen him. He split up with his wife probably 6 months to a year before I split up with Leanne. So something we've both been dealing with. It was a bit different for him because he obviously lived with it. He was married. He managed to get married to the person he loved, and things were different for him. I didn't marry, unfortunately, the woman I loved, and I didn't get to even spend a single night with her, which was a real shame, because that's one thing I always wished I had as a memory, that I could have at least spent one night. Luckily for him, he's now found a new girlfriend, and he's now loved up as such, and I wish him all the best for it, because I think he deserves it. It's, everybody deserves to be loved by somebody, and I wish everybody could be loved and feel loved by somebody, and love somebody and express themselves to somebody. He was a guy that unfortunately had to tell me that Russell had taken his own life a couple of months ago. We discussed it, and Aaron and I sort of discussed, and we sort of said, can things get that bad? And Aaron was saying, things are bad, things have been bad for him, but he didn't think things were anywhere near that bad that he would ever do something like that. And I said, well, it takes different people for different courses. Some people think that, some people don't. Some people, maybe some of us are weaker than that, and we think, we would do that. You can easily see why you'd do that. And I said, it's a very tragic thing, something that's, quite upsetting and distressing. The dog's name's Agatha. Agatha belongs to my brother's ex-wife. So my brother's ex-wife's got a dog called Agatha, which you've seen in the pictures. His girlfriend now, he also 6 months, maybe 6 months after I split up with Anne, he got back together with a girl he went out with before he met his wife. She's got a dachshund dog. Her dachshund's called Gracie, and she's a lovely little dog, but I don't get to see them that often, so I don't get to take much pictures of her. I've done a few pictures of her. Agatha is one of them dogs that you take pictures of when you can. The problem is, as soon as you get the camera out, she's running around or jumping up and down doing loads of things whilst we're dog sitting. As soon as you get the camera out, sits down, that's it, it's done.